Kateena, tell me a bit more, why did you start Club Sandwich?
So the seed of an idea came to me a few years ago. So I was working in London at the time for a communications agency, and I was the only HR person at the time that had very kind of process-driven HR previously. And I came in and decided to talk to the managers and see if they needed any help with anything or if they were having any issues with any of their team, and that kind of blew their minds a little bit, which I thought was pretty crazy considering that's really what I had been doing in my roles back home before I moved over there. And so from there kind of got the idea that there's probably other businesses that either are having very transactional HR, have their office manager doing HR, or kind of don't have that person that's dedicated to really diving in and finding out how everyone's going, and seeing if there's any issues that need to be dealt with, and kind of jumped on quickly, because as we leave things to fester, that's when they become big issues and they need to be. So I came back to Australia not long after that and decided to work for another HR consultancy, which gave me obviously amazing exposure to what the job entails, what it means to be that kind of confidant, trusted advisor for small business owners and managers, and then decided it was time to kind of go out on my own. So that's when Club Sandwich was born.
Nice. And I guess what's the big goal for the business?
So really just to help as many people as possible at the moment. So I really thrive on kind of being a part of people's teams. I had a few clients that I finished up with when I left the consultancy that I was working with, and they kind of said it really feels like we're losing one of our own team members. So really kind of getting involved in businesses that are looking for someone to kind of be a part of their team and really support as if they're one of their own, and being able to kind of help as many businesses as I can through that path, and then obviously kind of see where it takes me. For now, I'm still only within my first 6 months, so there's a lot to learn, and it's a kind of a big learning curve. So I'm trying to kind of be realistic about where things are heading and take it all one step at a time at the moment.
Okay, nice. Sounds like you're in for quite a journey. So obviously on the LinkedIn video we were talking about setting clear expectations, with the audience and the HR audience at that. What would you say in regards to performance reviews? So obviously performance review is something you do every 6 months, every 12 months. I've actually recently done one myself, and it was a fine experience. But is there a better way of doing things? I guess it's the clearest way to ask it.
Yeah, so there's, as we were kind of talking about earlier before we started filming, there's kind of a school of thought now that just really regular kind of ad hoc feedback is potentially a better way to kind of give people feedback throughout the year. Obviously when you're thinking about a 6 and a 12-month period, there's a lot of kind of performance and things that would have happened in that time to think back on, to really consider when you're having those really traditional performance reviews. And so having more regular feedback obviously helps to kind of combat that. The only thing that I think people need to be careful of is when people feel like they're getting or giving more likely when they're giving regular feedback, they miss the opportunity to kind of have that dedicated sit down with somebody to really have a conversation about them in particular, in their role, kind of where they see themselves in the future of the business, what their development goals are, and that kind of thing. And so by doing away with the formal performance review process altogether, can lose that kind of really focused conversation. So I think by having something to kind of combat that, whether that's a monthly check-in that's really dedicated to that individual, as well as that kind of on-the-fly feedback, means that it's kind of the best of both worlds. There's not a really long period to remember what's happening, but also people are getting that kind of really focused attention about them in particular, and we all know that's what millennials love.
Yeah, we do. We want that feedback, and that to be told we're doing a good job, I think, is really important as well. That's awesome. Okay, cool. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to add, but just thank you once again for coming through, letting us know about your business and what you do, and thank you, really appreciate it.
Awesome.